right, we're back again with another episode of Roofer Reflections, and I'm really excited to finally get Chad on the show. So, Chad, thank you for coming on the show.
You bet. Appreciate it. Thanks for the offer.
What was young Chad like? What were your interests growing up?
Grew up in a little southern Missouri town of lead mines, which most people are like, lead mines? What do you mean? We're still, I think, in the Guinness World Book of Records for the most lead produced by a community, and we're talking a town of 400 people in southern Missouri. I grew up, like I said, my dad was a lead miner, my grandpa was a lead miner, and I was one of those that everybody in my graduating class, I think, except probably maybe a dozen of us, they already knew they're going straight to work for the lead mines. And so I just was one of those that decided that, I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do. And so I went to college and found out real quick. School was one of those that I had a hard time to make myself apply myself. I was blessed. School came fairly easy to me. And so went through Engineering School, and actually I have a civil engineering degree, a drafting degree, and I'm actually 13 hours from finishing a mechanical and an electrical engineering degree. I ended up finding an engineering job that we were designing and building bridges, and I got part of the interior design stuff. I done the ADA accessible elevators for all of the county courthouses in the state of Missouri. So when a county courthouse, the old style buildings, you got your 2 floors or sometimes 3. Well, that top floor, because it harder to heat and harder to cool and all those things, it always had a low ceiling in it. Well, we would had to blow elevators through shafts, and we didn't have enough room in the ceilings. And so that is kind of what got me into the roofing industry, because I was involved with speccing out the products to take care of how we were going to meet the needs of all of these buildings. Because, these are county courthouses that, you might come into one that has metal, you might come into one that has, mod bid, coal tar, could have a single ply that somebody's put on. You have no clue what is up there until you get to looking. And you might run into 3 on the same building, you just never know. So we had to come up with something that we could put the shaft in, waterproof the building enough to where funds for the county could decide what they're going to do, either do a new roof, or if we could make it, tie seamlessly, then it was okay. But a lot of these were old, dilapidated buildings that they didn't have the funds to, we're talking all rural areas in Missouri. And so I ended up, believe it or not, speccing some fabric, reinforced, basically a fabric ply system in the coatings industry.
That's awesome. You were on the contractor side first, right?
Yeah, I still am, actually.
Yeah. So how do you balance those two? Because you have your coating, product side of things, and your I guess your invention, and then how do those kind of interact?
Sometimes I think I should be in the circus and just be a juggler, because I really think that there's times that I feel like. But literally about 3 years ago, we really kind of transitioned, because I had ran my own commercial roofing business. Here in the Midwest, we basically serviced mostly Missouri, Iowa, Arkansas. We've done a little bit in Kansas, and then got down into Kentucky. And I really done a lot in this Midwest. And, once I got married, started having kids, the travel, I just tried to cut it down a little less. Because, I was putting on 80, 90, 100,000 miles a year. Wasn't even a joke when I was single, or even in our first few years of marriage. I started looking at more jobs, up in northern Missouri and southern Iowa. So we started getting some jobs up here. Well, then we decided that we were going to build a weekend home in southern Iowa. I just decided, hey, at the same point in time, something came up that basically how I brought the Roof Rabbit out to the industry, because I had built it and had it for 15 years, but nobody even knew about it because it was just our tool. I didn't let anybody know. Everybody's like, how in the world did you have a guy, a 3-man crew, knock out that kind of square footage in the time you guys did it? And I'm just like, nah, this is what we do. And then nobody could ever, but we could knock out so many more squares with it that, so ironically, somebody started calling me. Somebody had seen me. I'd done some training for a manufacturer, and there was about 10 contractors there. Well, somebody back in the flip phone days had videoed the Roof Rabbit. And then about 4 years later, he had actually gotten a Facebook. Well, he opened up his phone and still found that video. So he thought, this would be cool. I'll just post it. Well, it just went crazy. And I started getting all these calls, and I'm like, where, I couldn't figure out who, because I'd never put a video of none of it. I was like, that's my baby. Nobody knows about this. And next thing you know, they, these calls kept coming in, and my wife's like, man, why don't you see what it takes to, because they're all trying to buy one. And she's like, why don't you see what it takes to recreate it, and make it duplicatable. And I'm like, nah, I don't want to do that, and well, she won the battle. And so the next 3 days I spent working on that. That started taking off. And we realized, hey, this gives me the freedom of not wanting to travel as much. I still get to work with coatings and contractors and all the stuff that I love and like to do and have done forever. So I started scaling back my own installs. And now, because of the 22 plus years of being in nothing but coatings, I have connections that are literally almost every state.
I'm sure, being part of the industry, a lot of people that are newer come to you for advice. Like, what should I do?
Yes, and that's really where my podcast, where you mentioned that's honestly where my wife has done a Christian life coach for women. She's had a podcast for, oh my gosh, 3, 4, 5 years, and I've done really well. I mean, 500,000 downloads, or I don't know where she's at now. She's done really good with it. And she's the one that kind of is like, you have all of these questions. These guys keep, sometimes calling you, burning up 30 minutes of your time, and you're not making a penny off of that. And I'm like, I understand that, build the relationship. And I'm one of those that even if I don't make $1 off of it, I'm one of those that if somebody calls me, I answer the phone and I answer the question. And to sometime it's to my, it's negative to me I'll be doing it. I'll say, okay, you didn't get squat done today, but you spent 3 hours on the phone here and you didn't accomplish anything. But like I said, that's kind of what my podcast, and thankfully we've been in the background here, we're doing some stuff to get it ready to launch again. We got hit with some between family and, and everything else kind of diverted some time there. But that's really what I started it for, was the fact of I just had all these guys call me and asking some of the similar questions and, asking how can I go from here to here, or what would you do here? And what about this? And I'm like, you know what? Kind of like the answer and the questions on your website or a blog. I'm just going to write a list of all these things that guys have asked me and just start recording anywhere from, some of them are 5 minutes and some of them are 15 minutes, and try to just go through that. And I've done it. Honestly, I didn't have a clue if I'd have any response or any, I just done it. I'm like, you know what? I'm putting content out there. Somebody might find it and it may turn around and lead them to work with us on whether it's coding or us doing a job or buying equipment, whatever it is.
What's the name of the podcast so they can find it?
Roof Coating Life.